My name is Olusegun Mokuolu. Understanding your husband's sexuality. Some time ago, we did a video on understanding the sexuality of the woman, and I'll put the link in the description. This is the male version, if you want, of that video, which means as a wife, you need to understand your husband's sexuality. This education, we are not born with it. And you may be surprised that little things like that have actually destroyed some homes. People may not be able to say some things, but nonetheless, they are potent enough to harm their marriage and cause a lot of conflict. And they do cause a lot of conflict in marriage. I've had a situation where a man was going to divorce his wife because of sexual satisfaction. He felt he wasn't getting the kind of sexual satisfaction he should get from his wife. And the woman ran to me and told me, I thought it was a joke until I also saw that the man was serious. And we took some time, went through a few things, and God took control in their marriage. So things like that, sexual issues can actually cause problem in marriage. Now, but you see, how do you learn this as a child of God? Because I'm doing this strictly for God's children. If you are not born again and you are watching this, it may not profit you much. What will profit you first is to yield your life to Jesus Christ. So I'm doing this strictly for God's children, because where will we get knowledge, information like this that will be godly, or that the atmosphere or the environment or the platform or the means by which that information is brought to us will be something that is acceptable to us? So it's very important that we look at scriptures and discuss this as children of God. So it's something you should know. Are you a Christian sister? Then you need to understand your husband's sexuality. Don't take it for granted. Don't just think that you understand it. So the first thing I want to start by sharing with us is that at the center of a man's sex is erection. Sex will start with erection. The man must have erection. Now, you need to understand that the erection of the man is physiological as much as it is psychological. Now, I'm not a doctor. Let me say this beforehand. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm sharing this based on my understanding of the scripture, based on medical knowledge that I've read, and most importantly, the fact that I'm also a man. So, erection is psychological and physiological. A man can wake up in the morning and have erection. He's not thinking about anything. Some will have erection after taking a meal, either in the morning or any time of the day. Those kind of erections are not controlled by the man. It's just the body that is just working itself out. But there are many times when the thought or imagination of the man makes him to have erection. So you must understand. And that already gives you something about a man having erection and his sexuality. Okay. It is often said that what a man sees, the nudity that a man sees, is what moves him for sex. It's not true. It's not true. Now, I'm not saying men don't like to see nudity, but nudity is not sufficient may not be sufficient to just get a man to arouse. Not every man, anyway, that nudity moves them. So, as a wife, you may be surprised that you are naked and your husband is not even bothered that you are naked. We'll get there shortly. Now, at the beginning of your relationship, you are either that you didn't have sex before you got married, which is actually the best. That means you kept yourself, or you probably had sex. Either way, if what you will observe is this: at the beginning, either in marriage or while you were having sinful sexual relationship, when you were courting, the sex drive of the man at that stage is in overdrive. He's excited. Your body is new to him. He also has feelings for you that is just temporal feelings. So his sexual drive at that initial stage is usually overdrive. You can't you can't judge his sexual life by that initial phase. You will have issues. If you feel like, in those days, you were all over me, before you see my body, you are already turned on, and so he can't always be that. That is the reality. You see, that initial phase is like when an airplane wants to climb, the airplane will taxi, so it moves, and then finally, what the pilot will say, rotate. That means that the plane pitches up and try to gain lift with the wind. When the plane is doing this, it's using a lot of power. It's consuming a lot of fuel. Actually, you'll be amazed the liters of fuel some plane consume just to do that. But then eventually they get to cruising altitude and speed, where everything is settled, everything is stabilized, and it's not increasing speed, not decreasing speed, it's just moving. It is at that speed, that's when you can assess the plane. So when it's climbing, the power is using at that time is not the power it will use for the journey. It's not going to use that power for the journey. So that's like the way the man is. The initial stage of a man, the early life of a man, his sexual life is completely different. Particularly in relationship, when a man newly gets married, or when a man gets involved in a relationship with a lady, don't judge him by that. When you are now settled in marriage, that is when you will see the actual sexual velocity of your husband. So get those days out of your mind. Now, when a man wants sex, give him. You see, there's something fundamentally different about the man and the woman. We said initially that erection is physiological and psychological. Now, most times, when a man wants to have sex, is usually psychological. That means that his imagination, his thought has to go into it. Now, there are times in marriage, many things comes up in marriage, that same mind that is going to process sexual thoughts is also processing school fees, is processing house rent, is processing debt, is processing so many things. It gets to a point that sex may not be a real priority in that man's life. So when he wants sex, if, for example, you are watching TV, your husband wants sex, you're watching a program, is interesting to you. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. But he wants sex. Now, the program is going to last 35 minutes. So you just feel like, just wait 35 minutes, let me watch this program, then we'll come and have sex. 35 minutes later, he's not ready to have sex. He doesn't even have what it takes to have sex again. He doesn't even have the energy to generate erection. Erection is not automatic. It's not something that is ready. But you see, for you as a woman, even when you are tired, you can still accommodate sex, because you don't need to generate an erection energy to have sex. All right. So even though you are tired, you can still, I use the word accommodate. I'm not saying it's perfect for you, but you can tolerate it. But a man may not be able to perform when he's tired, because he needs a tool to perform, and that tool is down. What do you think he's going to do? So you may even have a situation where you are having sex and he loses erection. What do? Because, you see, it's psychological for him. So many things can come up. Now, of course, this is not general. I'm trying as much as possible to pick here and there. It's not general, but when I say that, I mean, it doesn't mean it's going to happen to everybody like this. There are always exceptions. But generally speaking, you will have a bit of this in your sexual life in marriage. And you've got to know how to deal with it. So when you delay sex at times with him, it may affect him. Apart from the fact that it will even affect his ego. Even though as God's children, nothing should really move us. As a husband, the fact that your wife says, no, she's not ready for sex, should not make you feel inferior. Should not make you feel like, okay, she doesn't honor you, she doesn't respect you. But as a woman, you'll be wise to ensure that when he wants sex, he gives it to you. Now, if you watch the other video that I talked about earlier, we also said that when you also want sex as a woman, the man should also be there for you. You must show the love of Christ in your sexual life. That means being selfless, being concerned with one another, looking out for one another. Now, so environment, circumstance can affect a man sexually. Environment and circumstance. Now, you see, and it's difficult to manage it sexually. As a woman, environment and circumstance can affect you. Now, but you see, the worst it will really do is maybe you don't get wet and excited as you should, but that can be fixed with some artificial things like lubricants. But for the man, when he's in that state, he may find it really difficult to do anything. He may really find it difficult. So understand it, that it can affect him. Put the environment of your home in such way that he feels is the best for him to have sex. If your husband is somebody that hates something being dirty, scattered here and there, keep the house tidy. Now, generally, the house should be kept tidy, and both of you should involve yourself and engage in keeping the house tidy. Now, but I'm directing this because I'm talking about the sexuality of husband. So I'm directing what I'm saying to the wife. So please understand that I'm speaking basically to women. I know some men also may watch this video, but I'm basically talking to women. So that may be responsible for the choice of my language. It may look like I'm just talking to women. Like I said, we already have a video where we look at the sexuality of the woman, like talking to men, to the husband. And I'll put that link in the description below so that you can also watch that. But you must understand that environment can affect him. Circumstance can affect him. He can have issues. Some people feel that a man, it's like shelf where you stack books. And even if sex is the book underneath, a man can just bring that one out and forget all others. It usually doesn't work like that. There are men that once those other issues are there, it suppresses their sexual life. They can't engage in sex. Some even childbirth can suppress their sexual life. When they see how messy it is, in quote, to give birth to a baby, it can shut down a man. Or the pain the wives go through to give birth to a baby. All of those things can really make a man to shut down because he is a rational person. He is a psychological person. He's not just a physical person. He's also a rational person. So you need to understand this. You also need to guide him to satisfy you. Don't assume that a man is just going to satisfy you sexually and you just sit down and expect him to satisfy you. You see, God didn't expect us to please him. He told us how to please him. He told us the things he's happy with. He told us how to live our life. He told us that being patterned after Christ is what pleases him. So you must let your spouse know how to please you. Don't just expect that you should figure it out and he should just do it to you. It's your own body. Another person cannot come and help you to figure your body out. You must help that person to help you figure it out. If he has to figure it out for you, you must help that person. You must guide him. You must tell him you want this. You must tell him you want that. You must tell him this is how to do this. Don't go this far. Yes, I'm okay with this. I enjoy this. You must express those things. Communicate it. They are not sinful. I say God created sex. Sex is not sinful. It is sexual sin that is sinful. But sex in itself is a beautiful gift to man. It's a beautiful gift. Even as a woman, when you look at your vulva, there's hardly anything that is multitasking like that part of your body. You use it for sex. It produces baby. You use it to pee. You use it to go to the toilet. I mean, you use it for your menstrual flow. That's 5 things that this part of your body does. Just nothing can be as multitasking as that. So it's the creation of God. It's the ingenuity of God. So many people have studied sex. They don't just still understand it. That's tell you about the greatness of our God. So it's not dirty. It's not something bad. It's not vulgar. It's not something. No. You are married. You are within a legal, spiritual jurisdiction where you can have sex and enjoy it. The Bible says, let her breast satisfy thee at all times. So look at that. That's in the Bible I just quoted from Proverbs chapter 5. Let her breast satisfy you. What does that mean? How can her breast satisfy me? It says, let her breast satisfy him. So as a woman, relax. Release yourself. Feel free. Break yourself loose from wrong traditions, wrong beliefs that you've heard over the years. Let him guide him on how to satisfy you. Like I said, nudity. Nudity does not always turn a man on. So don't think that once you are naked, you should be turned on. Don't think so. And because you are naked, it's not turned on, maybe something must have been wrong. No. No. This our mind is just one. It can process many things, but at times it gets overloaded. So you must understand that. And don't make your spouse to use sex performance. Don't make your husband use sexual drugs for sexual performance. Because you can do that by making him feel like a failure. It is not sex that makes a man a man. You know, people try to advertise things and make it feel like a man that can handle a woman, that's a man. A man that can perform on the bed, that's a man. That's not a man. A man is a male. A man is not somebody that can perform on the bed. A man is simply a male. Don't define your husband by sexuality. If you want to define your husband, define him in Christ. A man that can treat you as Jesus would treat the church, that's a real man. So if you are looking for a real man, it is a Christ-like man. It is not a man that can have sex with a woman for 1 hour that you say, oh, that's a man. That's not a man. That's not what defines a man. So be careful. Don't make your husband feel like a failure. If there are issues, resolve it together. If he's having some challenges, discuss it. Don't make him feel like a failure. That is not where his success lies. Sex is temporary. As honorable as it is, as God-given as it is, it will end. You're not going to have sex forever. This body that we are using to have sex will one day perish. And the new body that we will receive in Christ Jesus, we are not going to be using it to have sex. We won't have sex again. So it's temporal. It's God's given, but it is temporal. The fact that it is God's given does not mean it must become an idol in our heart. Something that God gives you can become an idol. Something that is genuine and legitimate can become an idol. God gave Isaac to Abraham. When God saw it was going to be an idol in his heart, God said, give me that child. Sex is God-given, but it must not be an idol in your heart. It must not be what you want. Always, sex, sex, sex. You can't think of anything. And this one I'm saying to both the man and the woman. Because you see, there is demand and supply. You could be a woman that your problem is that he's not satisfying you enough. You want more sex. People don't say this, but there are women. that want sex so much. They don't mind to have sex 6 times in a day. I've had women say that when they are tired, sex rejuvenates them. When they are sad, sex rejuvenates them. When they think of sex, they are happy. They just want to have sex with their husband. There are very, very few men who will be able to cope with that kind of sexual rigor or sexual demand. And if your husband is not free enough, if he feels that he needs to impress you, he will be overstretching himself to satisfy you sexually. So many women unknowingly have sent their husband to their early grave without even knowing. Because the man will be looking for help. He will go and talk to somebody. And they will say, okay, go and use this. He will start consuming drugs just to perform, just so that he's not a failure at home. So if you are not careful, you will drive your husband to his grave. Which one will you prefer? To have him alive and still be having sex with you occasionally, or for him to just die and leave you with the children? So you've got to be careful. Don't make it look like this is a death and life issue. It's not a death and life issue. Now, on the other hand, you could have a man that is always demanding for sex also. There are men like that they hardly have anything to do with their mind other than to just want sex all the time. Like we have said in some of our videos, which I would really encourage you to watch, we've addressed it, that the scripture says, defraud not one another. More so, you see, the fruit of the Spirit is that you are considerate of another person. So as a husband, you must be considerate of your wife. Now, once you marry, you have signed up to have sex. So you can't say, I married, but I don't like sex. If you don't like sex, don't get married. However, that is not to say that somebody must come and kill you or injure you with sex. But you must both behave yourself as God's children. That is what makes the difference. The fact that you are both in Christ, you are not going to be making unreasonable demand of your spouse. You must understand your spouse. That, oh, my wife cannot tolerate sex too much. And then the two of you will try to work around that. And you as a woman too, you will try to accommodate it. You try to understand it. And the Lord will keep you together. You see, once we have the Spirit of Christ to operate, or the mind of Christ, things will work out in marriage. But just be careful that you don't make him feel like a failure such that he is now going outside. Many men are in trouble. They are looking for how to travel. Any journey, they are happy. 3 months, 2 months, because finally they can rest. Many of them cannot tell their wife and say, I'm sorry, I can't do this now. I can't do this now. They feel that they'll feel like a failure and they may push their wife to the hands of other men. So they are afraid to say, so they are just struggling. They are struggling. And many of them have started taking drugs, unknowing to their wives, just to perform. And the lady thinks that it is just normal. When I want it, he must just be having it. No. Sex is very tiring for the man. It is extremely tiring. This is something you can read up. It's not making a defense for the man. This is something you can read up. Because he's giving his energy. He's giving so much energy. Now, just the same way you two feel so tired after orgasm. That's why we said in our previous videos that it is sexual satisfaction that matters, not sexual performance. It's not how many rounds a man is able to do that matters. It's the two of you mutually satisfying each other. Stop believing some of the things that you read. It's not the number of rounds that can satisfy you. You can have one great moment of sex. Not so much round when you both figure out what you both need to do to satisfy one another. It's not that he must just be on you and 6 rounds and then you say, that's my husband. No, it's your husband the day you agree to marry him, not because he can go 6 rounds. It's not about rounds. It's not about sexual performance. It's about sexual satisfaction. And you can't be satisfied. The two of you can work out the way to satisfy one another with the mind of Christ. Now, I want you to know also as a woman that there is nothing you do sexually that will make him to be faithful. Hey. So if it is faithfulness, It has to do with his relationship with Jesus. Turn yourself to whatever you can turn yourself to in the bedroom. That's not what will keep the man faithful. You know, sex in marriage takes care of our sexual passion. It doesn't take care of our sexual lust. They are two different things. Sexual lust is of the sinful nature. Sexual passion is a human need. Just like you are hungry. You can satisfy a man that is hungry, but you cannot satisfy a man that is hungry and is a thief. You can't satisfy him. Because when you feed him, he is still a thief, so he must steal. But a man that is hungry, once he has food, is okay. So marriage is not established to cure sexual sin. Adam will not have problem with sexual sin. So marriage was not created for him to address sexual sin. So don't think that if you turn yourself to somebody, some spirit in the bedroom and do all kinds of acrobatics and so on, is going to be faithful. That's not what makes a man faithful. Only Jesus keeps a man faithful. Now, become his life partner, not his sex partner. You see, as a woman, as a wife, don't develop this attitude where you live in a separate room or you are always with your kids. So the only time you go to the husband is when you want sex. That means you are a sex partner. That means that you are not his life partner. You really don't value a relationship with him. You really don't value spending time together. Now, as I'm saying this, I understand some women will say, well, I want this, but my husband is not even somebody who wants that. Now, that's a different case. But because I'm addressing women, I need to first speak objectively to you. So don't be a sex partner. Don't be like anytime you want sex, that's when you go and stay by his side. That's when you'll be putting your leg on his leg. That's when you'll be taking his hand, putting it on your breast. No. Let it be a normal thing that you sleep together, you spend time together. Let sex flow naturally. I'm not saying anything is wrong, that maybe you are in one room, you now went to another to go and meet him. That's not what I'm dealing with. But that as a practice, be his life partner. Don't just show up when you want sex. Don't just show up when you want him to satisfy you sexually. Be there all the time so that sex can simply just flow naturally. And then be very careful of ever saying to your husband stories of how somebody satisfied you in the past, particularly if you have engaged in sex in your past life. That means you are comparing him to that person. You see, if a man is in Christ, is a new creature. All things have passed away and all things have become new. Maybe in those days you didn't know the Lord and you were engaging in sexual sin. But now you have repented. You are now married. You are settled in your marriage. Remove that from your mind. This is your husband. It's not that person that is your husband. You see, because some women have run into trouble because they couldn't get that thing out of their mind. They are always thinking of one sex they had with one ex-lover. You know, it could even be that they drank alcohol and they were supercharged and had sex. Now, you can't have that with your Christian husband. The two of you are not drinking. The two of you are serving the Lord. Do you want him to behave like somebody who is on cocaine? Is that what you are expecting? You have sex with somebody who was taking cocaine. And then you expect your husband, who is only drinking the word of God, to come and perform like somebody who drank cocaine. It's not possible. So be very careful. Don't compare him to your past. And don't also compare him to the stories you'll be hearing. Because you will hear stories, particularly if you are working. You will hear stories of how my husband is doing this, my husband is doing that. Some of those stories may not even be true. And then you begin to say to yourself, well, I don't know what kind of husband I have. Be careful. Don't let people deceive you with stories. Enjoy your own husband. I pray that God will give you wisdom. Never, never, never use sex as punishment. You see, sex is not what you give to your husband. It's what you share with your husband. Oh, sex is not what you give to your husband. It's what you share with your husband. That means it's mutual. It's not like you have it, he doesn't have it, then you give it to him. No, you have half he has half. You bring it together, it become whole. You want orgasm, you want ejaculation, you give to one another. It's a fellowship, it's a communion. But I prefer to call it sexual communion because that's what really is. There's no intimacy greater than that. Once a man is that intimate with you, what is that about? What is it about you again to know? That's why the Bible, you see, King James, people think King James is just bad English. No, when King James said Adam knew his wife, how come the English they were using that time? How come knew his wife was the kind of English that was fitting to transcribe, to explain sexual intercourse? It's not ordinary. In communion, there is a knowledge, there is a revelation when two people enter into communion or into fellowship. So when they use the word Adam knew his wife, it was telling us that it was something deep. So don't use sex as punishment. Also understand that your man can live happily without sex. Don't believe that story that a man cannot be happy without sex. It's a lie. A man can live happily without sex. It's because many men have programmed their mind to tell their minds that it always needs sex. But that's not true. A man can live happily without sex. So don't believe that story. Sex is not food. It's not oxygen. Nobody will die because they are not having sex. So understand that and keep that at the back of your mind. So enjoy your sex life, but understand it is temporary. Serve God. Your marriage was not put together to have sex. Sex is just a byproduct, a benefit in marriage. The ultimate goal is that your marriage must fulfill the desire of God. Your marriage must fulfill the purpose of God. It must bring about the extension of the frontiers of the kingdom of God. We are not just put together to have fun together. You must raise godly children. You must team up to serve the kingdom of God, to enthrone Jesus Christ on the face of the earth. That is what is important. But while it lasts, enjoy your sexual relationship with your husband. Now, I'm going to put a playlist. I think that's what I should do. Instead of just putting the link of a video, I'll put a playlist of our videos on sexual intimacy in Christian marriage. There are about 20 videos or less. I'll put them there. I'll just put the playlist there. Once you click on it, it shows you the list of the videos on the playlist. And then you can pick the ones that you want to watch. We've addressed other issues because I know there are issues people may want to ask, which we may have already addressed, like is oral sex a sin? How to satisfy your partner, and a whole lot of other issues like that. We've addressed it strictly from a biblical perspective. My prayer is that you will have grace to express genuine love of Christ to one another, even through your sexual communion, in the name of Jesus. My name is Olusegun Mokuolu. If you need to speak with me, my contact details, email address, and phone number, they are in the description below. My phone number is +234 818 615 7852. Just check the description below. That phone number is right there, and the email address is also right there. God bless you.